Also, good morning, everyone. My name is Jared Welch. I'm a director of sales engineering for UiPath. And as Ron introduced us, we're here from the automation space. And so today I'm going to focus a little bit on not just how automation can impact the IT world itself. We have an ability to let you do your job more efficiently. We'll also talk about how UiPath enables more of the end-to-end automation at the business that IT can be a core competency and core foundation of. So going forward, the first thing I want to discuss is we've seen the role of the CIO evolve over the last 5 years for sure, but even over the last 2 years, the pandemic has really accelerated this change in which IT and CIOs have traditionally been more of a support and an operational function, ensuring that the business can operate smoothly and efficiently. But as we said, the CIO role has evolved now to be more of a strategic role. And one of our customers, our CIO, gave us a really fun metaphor of traditionally IT and CIOs have been the handyman of the house, making sure that things get fixed. And when there's a problem, we go identify it and make sure it runs the way it's supposed to. That's evolved now to CIOs are now more of the architects of the house, right? They're having more strategic conversations and designing the foundation to then enable business to do their own business better. So going forward, this enables what we're all here today to discuss. This is digital transformation. And this is how UiPath is viewing this market of transformation is not just making sure that what y'all have been doing in the IT world happens more quickly, more efficiently, and more securely. That's certainly a part of it. But it's really, again, being that more that strategic voice and that strategic visionary of if we're going to be implementing a new technology, we should be the ones prescribing what that technology looks like. With the business knowledge in mind, we can impact revenue and impact that bottom line. Now, the fun part is, as IT professionals, we don't get to just say, well, we'll sell more stuff. We have to worry about security and compliance. And there's always that IT side, which is the fun part. But UiPath has taken the approach of let's combine those two avenues. Let IT do what IT has always done in a more efficient manner, while also bridging that gap between IT and business. So with that background, moving forward to how we have in the market seen CIOs approach their business now in three main categories here. The first one here is the operational excellence, right? This is more of the traditional operational side, and it's accelerating the day-to-day maintenance side, right? Making sure that when there's a ticket, it gets answered appropriately. When there is a power outage, an infrastructure outage, we get things back up and running. It's doing HA and DR, it's doing security and analytics, right? It's all of those aspects. And so that's definitely is a priority and will always be a priority. But where we've seen the market change and CIOs have this additional priority now is this top right quadrant, which is the acceleration of digital solutions. It's not just cutting costs, it's also now introducing new technologies. And gone are the days of 18-month implementation cycles and multi-year ROIs. Businesses need solutions and they need it as soon as possible. And they can't afford to wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years to do an S/4HANA migration, right? We need more solutions and need them quicker and more efficiently. And so these two things holistically are where we'll spend most of our time today. UiPath has really moved forward in the market. With the last segment here of we want to also make sure that people are happy, right? And that's the end customer, that is internal customers, other peers, employees, or an actual external customer, bring solutions more proactively to them so that they don't even know that they were missing this piece of the puzzle. We can bring that to them at the very beginning. So with that, we'll align quickly here how UiPath is approaching these three priorities, where on the operational excellence side, it's the ability to do IT automation, spinning up infrastructure. And we've seen a lot of people talk today about very similar concepts, and we all have our own little approach to it. And we'll see some examples moving forward. But it's testing, it's automation of spinning up infrastructure, it's automation of security principles. And that's the UiPath approach. But on the second piece here, the acceleration of digital solutions. We at UiPath personally believe if you're not receiving ROI from UiPath solution in the first 12 months of deployment, something went wrong, right? We're in the months in terms of deployment and the months in terms of ROI. And we've seen some great examples. I know there's some state of Georgia people around here. State of Georgia is one of our customers, and it's one of my favorite examples because I live here. I think a lot of us all live here. When the pandemic first came around, there was a massive backlog of food stamp applications for the state of Georgia. It's the SNAP program, if you're all familiar. And they were at some one point in time at a 72-day delay SLA between receiving a food stamp application and being able to process that. Very real example, very real citizens not having access to food. This, again, is not just making sure that a VM gets spun up. This is how IT can impact a business, a government, a citizen. And so from day zero of the state of government contacting us saying, hey, we have this problem, how do we go about fixing this? To day 13, they had 100 robots working in production, processing their food stamp applications. At the end of that first week of robotic process automation doing this process, they had done more applications in those 5 days than they had in the first 4 weeks combined. Right? These are real accelerated transformation processes. It's not an 18-month cycle. We don't have time for that sometimes. We need solutions now and solutions today. So to go into these two main categories here, the third bucket will be kind of the overlay across all of the aspects here. I'm going to give an example of how we view the operational excellence and then how we view this new life cycle of development here. So first thing, this is a high-level view of how we view the IT world in terms of the middleman between end customers, sending requests, information, ideas to IT, and then having to go into the backend and then perform those requests. And so again, end customer, whether it's employee or truly end customer, send something in to the service management portal, whether that's a contact center, ServiceNow, a different ticketing system, a Slack, right? Some form of communication. Information needs to get processed, ideas need to be generated, solutions need to be provided, and then integration with the backend to go actually perform those tasks. So there's 4 ways that we view the ability to automate this process here. The first one, very simply, a shift left, enabling self-service. UiPath has plenty of ways to automate processes, one of which is what we call an attended robot. That's a robot that sits on the desktop of the employees, that when they need something done, they just interact with their robot, which can do a process for them. We have that, we have the ability to integrate with chatbots. It's that self-service functionality where if we can avoid information getting sent to IT in the first place, that's a massive win and give y'all time to work on the higher priority and the items that require more of your knowledge. We don't want to sit here and reset passwords for 8 hours a day. We want to go make sure that the business is operating smoothly. One of our customers, for one of their use cases, they were able to self-service 80% of all tickets for a single ticket type because it was more of that mundane, easy work type. And they were able to have the employees themselves with their attendant robots just work with that robot back and forth to solve their own problem. So that's item number 1. Item number 2 is demand fulfillment. For the tickets that can't be truly self-serviced, they still get sent to IT, but can a robot pick up that ticket and perform what's necessary on the IT person's behalf, right? And so a lot of these examples are password resets, right? Where we still need some sort of ticketing sent across. We have either analytics or reporting on it. Maybe it's permissions that still need to be done on the IT side, right? So there's still a need to go across the wire to our version of it, but then have a robot pick it up and perform that on behalf of the user. So password resets, even spanning to the HR IT world of onboarding, and my favorite, offboarding. One other customer example here, we had a customer who they gave us a real use case where they had an employee that got terminated at 4 p.m. on Friday, and that ticket got sent to IT at 4 p.m. on Friday. And because it was 4 p.m. on Friday, it didn't get processed until 9 a.m. the next Monday morning. So that employee who no longer worked for the company had access to all of their systems, all of their applications, all of their data over the entire weekend. And they went in and performed some malicious activities. They downloaded reports and made some changes because they were disgruntled and had the ability to access it. They came to us, we put a robot on the IT's on back end. And now when a offboarding request gets sent in, the robot picks it up, does the offboarding, deactivates, deprovisions access on behalf of the IT people. And again, they can then still do exit interviews, and all of the still very person-centric items is still on the IT's world, and that's where we want them to be. But the remove can be done on behalf of the agents themselves. Item number 3 is demand reduction. This is going to be more of the traditional IT world here. So if you're working with monitoring, infrastructure, security, the ability to do spin up and spin down, we want to make these items actionable. So another use case that we actually use internally here is every morning when I sign into my machine, a robot recognizes that I've signed in, it goes into my free VDIs that I use on a daily basis, spins them up, provisions them, and gets them ready for me. And then at 9 p.m. each night, the robot will spin them down for me. We've done this across our entire SE team, and we've reduced costs tremendously because the VMs are now essentially on demand, but automated. So I have to go in and recognize, well, I have a demo in 20 minutes, I need to spin, great, that's all done on our behalf. We do the same thing across performance, across security, et cetera. In the use case here again, one of our customers in Europe, Reckitt, they reduced IT costs 20% with just having robots be intelligent in when infrastructure and security is needed and when it isn't, and we can be intelligent in how we move forward with that process. Lastly, we have demand elimination. There's plenty of performance monitoring applications and software applications that do a lot of this for you. We're not here to replace that for you. There are things like Ansible, for example, that do what they do really, really well. Where UiPath comes in, though, is we want to make Ansible actionable. So when you have a ping, you have a notification, you have an alert that comes to you, there often is, and frankly, there should be a, okay, so what happens next mentality. I need to go recognize the security alert and go shut down a port, change my IP address, deprovision a server, and react to it. UiPath can sit on top of all of these processes and action upon the alerts that are being brought in. And again, that's all on behalf of the users, where I, as a CISO, can come in and just get a report of, here's the alerts that we got, here's the actions that were taken on our behalf. Do you agree, yes or no? If not, how do I learn and do better next time? And we can learn and be intelligent in that process to, again, remove the manual effort on those day-to-day operations there. Last thing I'll share here is we also are the only RPA vendor to have a CrowdStrike tight-knit integration where it's bidirectional. So when CrowdStrike recognizes a potential threat, it can then trigger a UiPath robot to, again, go action on that threat, whether that is shutting down IPs, et cetera. We can receive info from CrowdStrike, but it's reverse as well. Luckily, we have truly never had a robot run rogue. Robots are designed to do what they're supposed to do. They don't write their password on a sticky note and leave it on the bus, right? They are doing what they're supposed to do. But it's still a nice comfort to know that if something were to go wrong, UiPath is now pinging CrowdStrike as well, and CrowdStrike can shut down just a single robot, not shut down all IT operations across the board, right? It's very, very granular and very, very bespoke and customized to what needs to happen. So again, this is kind of the big picture here. At UiPath, we drink our own champagne. We have received over 20,000 different attacks that are processed automatically by our own robots in conjunction with other technologies, of course, as well. So to take a brief pause here, this is what we see, more traditional IT operations, and how do we enable IT to do what they've always done, just more efficiently and more seamlessly and more effectively. On the next slide here, we're going to go now into the next conversation, which is more of that digital transformation, the accelerated optimization of new business processes. And UiPath very similarly works in the same realm, which is how do we, if we are given a new project, how do we use UiPath to, again, not make this an 18-month cycle, but can I get this for real today more effectively and more efficiently? The first thing we have on our platform is this discover side, this preparation side, where how many people believe that if they were to look up an SOP for a process, it's exactly accurate right now? Absolutely not, right? Even if we were to write it today, it's going to be wrong tomorrow. So we need to use data-driven analytics to understand what our processes actually are. What are our paths? If we're a multinational company, does America and EMEA work the same way? Probably not, right? We need to understand what our data paths actually are, what our processes actually are. So UiPath has mining capabilities built into the platform to understand these processes. So when we move to the development phase, we know what we're developing, right? We know what the process is, we know how to optimize it, we know how to develop it, and make sure it's automated in the most effective way possible. On the dev side, RPA has traditionally been UI-based automation, right? It's human emulation. If you have a process, which is I open up my computer, I open up my browser, I type in this URL, I click, I save, etc. UiPath, the robots will do those exact same UI-based activities to complete your process for you. And that's great and dandy, and that's how everything has always been. But there's more ways to integrate as well, right? There's APIs, there's ODBC connections, there's terminal emulators, and it's all now underneath the umbrella of UiPath, where what is the most effective and efficient way to automate a process? That's up to you. But we have the ability to pick and choose what makes the most sense to get that done on your behalf. And also in this sense, there's embedded AI. We want intelligent automation. UiPath is built so that if you're using UI-based automation and the button changes from here to here and changes colors, that's not a new process, right? We never have to teach an employee because the button says go instead of submit now. They're not gonna have to relearn and re-onboard. Neither the same thing for a robot, right? It knows the process and it can be intelligent in that operation. On the data migration testing side, I think these are very interrelated for the most part here. The big example we've all been through to some degree is this S/4HANA migration, right? Where we have a massive, again, 3-year, 5-year migration process where some of our customers have used UiPath to aid in that migration, both from a data generation standpoint, but also a test of the actual migration standpoint as well. Where they've written robots in their old system to do the top 20%, 50% of processes, written the same robots in the new system, and then when they have both set up, they just press play. And they can generate data and make sure that the data at the end of the process matches on both sides, a really easy way to ensure that the migration happens smoothly. This isn't ETL, right? We don't want to play in that space. There are other tools that do that for us. But once ETL is completed, does before and after match, yes or no? And the best part about it is if you use UiPath for migration for testing, you now have processes that are written in the new system that are now just production processes. You can now just automate what you need to be doing anyway in a seamless and effective manner. And then again, to wrap back up on the production side, this isn't an 18-month process. Like we used to do what we call Academy Lives, where we have a very similar room like this. I could give you Studio, it's our development platform on all of your desktops. And I can promise you within 1 to 3 hours, you'd all have a functioning robot that you built on your own desktop by yourself. It doesn't take 10 years of Java experience to build functional processes in UiPath. Again, the state of Georgia example, there's 13 days from I've never heard of UiPath to this is working for me in production. It's real, it's easy, and it works. With that, a couple of data points here. 1,300 reusable components on Marketplace. We have a massive community for this, where it's not just us building things. We have the community, think of it as an app store or Stack Overflow, where as you need support and need help, we can bring other experts into the room for you. And on the training side, we're also very, very involved in we want this in the hands of our customers. We offer all of our training completely for free. It's called the Academy. It's academy.uipath.com. And it's the same training that we take when we get hired here at UiPath. It's how it works. There's developer paths, there's business analyst paths, there's solution architects path, there's right? So depending on what your role in UiPath is going to be, there is that free training for you. And we are very much a customer-centric and customer-focused group. So if you need help, need support, we're not here to just give you a contract to call it a day. We really want you to have the solution that you need for your own success there. Last thing, I'll say the 1 minute up and running, we are definitely across the full spectrum in terms of deployment options. We can offer bare metal deployment where you're fully on-prem in an MSI realm. We offer a Kubernetes-based, what we call automation suite, where you get the full platform in a single Kubernetes-based install. We do offer a fully cloud, fully SaaS option as well, where you can have the entire infrastructure hosted by us. There's always going to be a little bit that's needed on your end because it's your process and your infra. So we will typically still install a robot on your environment to do the operations. But very, very soon, we're going to be releasing what we call automation cloud robots, where you can spin up a VM in our cloud. You can install via RDP all of your applications, install a robot there. You can have processes just being done thoughtless without needing to look at it ever again. I'm right at 10 a.m. here, so I'm going to make sure we're moving along smoothly here. That is essentially where we want to talk about today is, again, UiPath, automation. It's not just making IT operate more efficiently. That's certainly a huge priority and a lot of what we've been talking traditionally over the last 5 or so years. But it's now, can we bring IT out of that foundation of the business and bring them into the revenue generating side as well? We personally believe so. A lot of our customers believe so. We're seeing the trend and we're with that trend with you. And that's where we see the future of IT being. I think I've got a few minutes, so I'm happy to answer any questions if they come up. Otherwise, we'll be in the back of the booth.